Retail trade sales in South Africa fell 1% last year from 2022. The numbers are reflective of a weak economy that's leaving consumers out of pocket. Retailers have had to deal with high inflation, supply constraints, increased unemployment, and the power crisis. The retailers have been facing a number of challenges in recent years. It's been an ugly combination of the power crisis, high inflation, and consumers shopping for cheaper alternatives. The iconic Pick n Pay, founded back in 1967, is struggling to keep afloat. The food and clothing retailer is in deep financial trouble.
Pick n Pay's just sort of lost their way. If you think back to the 80s, Raymond Ackerman was the champion of the consumer, fighting against bread price fixing, fighting against petrol price fixing. Switch to ShopRite. ShopRite is absolutely that champion of the consumer. They talk around 800 billion given back to consumers in savings in the last 6 months. ShopRite is also feeling the pinch. However, its investment in distribution and digital technology is paying off. Results out last week showed an almost 14% jump in sales for the 6 months to end December as customers flocked to ShopRite stores for lower prices. If we go further back, a decade or two ago, ShopRite was investing in central distribution. We weren't seeing that coming from Pick n Pay. So they haven't been able to get their costs down, so they haven't been able to give those savings onto the consumer. And the consumer's smart, and they vote with their wallet.
We invest around about 3% of revenue every year in capital. This year, our capex investment will be 8.5 billion. And that is by a long mile much more than any of the other retailers. We've given our extra savings customers 8.4 billion worth of savings instantly.
The power crisis continues to weigh on the economy and businesses.
In the 6 months, we spent just over 500 million on diesel for the generators alone. It's about 80 million less than the previous 6 months, a comparable period. So the cost is still there. It's expensive to do business in South Africa. But yes, that's what it is.
Tough economic conditions are also plaguing other African markets. Clothing retailer TFG also recently announced it would be closing stores in Zimbabwe. Woolworths also posted a 7.5% drop in profits as consumers struggle in its main markets in Africa and Australia. Sumitra, Nydoo, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.